Good morning, St. John's. It's Ben Weber here, and I'm glad to bring to you a message that is seen through a different lens than what we might normally think. I've been really interested in history, local history in particular, and was pondering the Spanish flu that occurred in 1918 in the United States and across the globe. It had a similar impact to what the current COVID-19 pandemic is having, and gives us actually a message of hope to look back on how we faced the Spanish flu in the early 1900s, and that we came through it then. And the message of hope is that God is in control, as always, and by working together, keeping the faith, looking out for each other, we'll come through on the other side. But how did St. John's, as a church, how were we impacted then, and what did we do? So I looked through the archives and found a couple of pieces of information that I wanted to share with you. But for a little context, please understand that the Spanish flu here in Lancaster closed down all public places from September the 27th until November the 11th. So quite a few weeks. Similar time frame as where we are right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. And the church itself was shut down, of course. The pastor, the rector at the time, his name was George Israel Brown, and he compiled a scrapbook of sorts that included a lot of correspondence with the World War doughboys, if you will, the soldiers who went across to Europe to fight the Great War, the war to end all wars. As we know, it didn't turn out exactly that way, but the Reverend Brown was a great comfort and great guidance to the people, both at home and abroad. A lot of correspondence and newspaper clippings, pamphlets, and things that he included in this. He also helped us to create part of the facility we have here at the church. The parish hall was started and completed while he was in leadership here. Now, y'all all get the St. John's Messenger, and that document was sent to all the parishioners back even then. And I wanted to read to you from St. John's Messenger number 158 in November and December of 1918. And it's a time when the church was indeed still struggling. They were coming out of the pandemic restrictions at the time when this was issued, but it was certainly written and then printed while the restrictions were still in place. But here's what the rector writes under the heading, "The Influenza Epidemic. Never perhaps before has our city and the nation generally suffered so severely from an epidemic. Thousands of cases in our city and county, scores of deaths daily, schools, stores, theaters, saloons, and churches closed day after day and week after week. The Lancaster Ministerial Association spoke with united voices and messages of sympathy and consolation. This in the midst of war work and the great Liberty Loan Drive. Every agency of mercy in the city was active to the limit. Doctors and undertakers were overworked. Everyone helped as they could. The rector twice celebrated with closed doors. Our own loss by death in the church is indicated by the burial register on this page. 4 young men, 1 young woman, as well as some older persons. Over all of them we repeat the Christian's prayer. Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and let light eternal shine upon them. There will be loss, and there has been loss. Some has been identified and some is yet to come. It's not to be underestimated. Not just the illness and the difficulties with that, the interruption of our regular lives, but also the actual loss of life. It causes us to be listening to the call of God, to be Christ's hands and feet, eyes and arms and feet, to do his work here on the earth. Also wanted to read to you a portion of a letter that was sent out early in the epidemic, and it was a letter sent to the parishioners on October the 24th of 1918. It was written from the rector and the vestry and wardens, and it is, as I said, October 24, 1918. To the parishioners of St. John's Church, we, your chosen officers in this time of stress and sickness, desire to send you a word of sympathy and courage. Our Christian faith is more than ever our priceless possession. Brethren, cling fast to all its promises and practices. Goes on to remind people to keep giving to the church, which I know we have been doing, and even though it might be a sacrifice from time to time, I'm trusting that everyone is doing what they can. But it's the closing line really catches me as well. Brethren, with prayer and earnest anxiety, we beseech you, one and all, do not neglect this duty. Then, if all stand by the colors, we shall suffer no hurt, but only a glad confidence in your support and fellowship. Even though all that we do might not flow through St. John's, we do it to help our neighbors, to help our friends. And I am so glad to be a part of this community and glad to share in fellowship such as we're able to at this time. Wishing you all peace and comfort, safety and sanity.